Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to explain to you guys why the United Kingdom will lead in Ukraine against the Russians. Now, for those of you who've been following for a while, you know I've been saying this is coming for over a year. Even before Trump was elected, I say, listen, there's going to be a divergence where the United Kingdom are going to focus in Europe and the Americans under Donald Trump are going to focus in the Middle East. Now, I just did a video on the Middle East and how this rhetoric's all literally the pathway is there now, ladies and gentlemen. Like the stuff I said, you can see this now. You can see that path in front of us. But this video, I'm going to focus on the conflict in Ukraine. So if you guys are in the United Kingdom or wherever you are in the world, this is why the United Kingdom are going to lead against the Russians in Ukraine. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, okay? I'm not convinced that the Europeans can hold back the Russians. I'm really not convinced. And I'll come on to this now. So an article has been released, I think it was yesterday. I'll just read you the headline. Macron's brigade shows how not to fight in Ukraine. Dogged by scandal, the 155th separate mechanized brigade has quickly become a headache for both French and Ukrainian leaders. So this was supposed to be a showpiece of French military might. It was a unit totally trained by the best French military instructors, given the best French military equipment. You know, it was, they went over to France, they completed their training. Now, this has been dogged by scandal, saying that I think reports are out that 1,600 of those soldiers went AWOL in France. They went back to Ukraine, and now it turns out this has just been an absolute flop. Let me share this article with you as well, guys, from the Kiev Post. Now, when I share things from the Kiev Post, this is a very pro-Ukrainian outlet. Ukrainian army fight. This is quite an old article as well. This is from the 6th. No, it's not. It's it's what? 6th of January, 2025. That makes no sense. It's the 5th of January. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what's going on with this, but anyway, we'll go with the article. Ukrainian army finally admits shortfalls in high-profile 155 brigade, armed and equipped by France. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all right, the French are no good at war. They're good at cheese, garlic, and onions. That's it. You know, we kind of don't need them to do anything else other than provide cheese, garlic, and onions, and maybe some of that, like the sausage, the chorizo type sausage. They do good sausage as well, but good cured sausage. Leave the war fight into the war fighters, which is the British. Now, I'll put this article and the other article in the description, ladies and gentlemen, okay? But Ukrainians' first ever public admission that something actually might be wrong with a very high-profile unit. Army commander on Sunday said, very much in passing, conceded there had been shortfalls in training and equipment for Ukraine's only combat brigade, armed and equipped by France. Now, one of the reasons actually why people don't speak out about these shortfallings with these with the kit and equipment that have been gifted is because they don't want to seem ungrateful. But the problem is the French are no good at. They're not. You know, and it's. You know what? I will say it. It is me saying it, and I'm right. The French are not good at war. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the French are good at cheese, onions, and garlic. That's it. Leave it there. Forget the sausage. All right. Go further east in Europe if you want good cured sausage. And this is kind of the problem. A lot of NATO countries are actually paper tigers. You know, they're paper eagles. They're paper hawks. So now what we've seen in real time from the articles that I'll put in the description is the best of France has just crumbled in Ukraine. The best equipment, the best training, the best everything that they could have given Ukraine, that's just crumbled. Now, when I used to work in Ukraine and people were all people used to come to me and say, we need this fancy piece of equipment. We need this fancy piece of equipment. I was like, guys, stop. You need small arms and grenades. That's it, nothing else. You know, with enough small arms and grenades, you can mount a successful defense and an attack, and you can do a lot of stuff with those things. And you know what? Small arms and grenades, they're very cheap. The problem we have is nobody's making any money nobody really makes any big money with small arms and grenades. So this is why we're seeing all these huge announcements where people, especially like what we've seen, the French are totally deluded in their capacity to fight a conflict. You know, so this is why I've been saying for the longest time, and people are saying, "Oh, Sean, the British military is too small to fight." Yes, I get that. The British military is too small to fight a conflict in Ukraine on their own. What's going to happen is the British will be at the forefront. The British will be doing all the offensive operations. Then once they've conducted an offensive operations, they will move out, and then the French can go in and build defensive positions and hold that ground, you know, and that's how it's going to work. Remember, this conflict in Europe with the Ukrainians, it's not just going to be Britain. You know, it's not just going to be Britain on their own. There's going to be an alliance of Britain, Poland. Poland will be providing the bulk of this. Poland will be providing the bulk of this fighting force. And you know, as we're moving forwards now, looking at all these things gearing up, and one of the things I said, like in 2022, I said Britain will lead in Ukraine by 2025. Well, I'm calling it that this 100-year agreement that Britain and Ukraine have got, I'm saying that is the icing on the cake. That's the final little tip of the hat. But anyway, guys, like I just wanted to show you that I just wanted to show you the article about why Britain has to take the lead. Britain have the only and the best strike capacity. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, but the French have got this. Oh, but the Germans have got that. Ladies and gentlemen, I've worked with these foreign nations. They're useless, all right? They're not the tier 1 military. Yes, Britain has been drastically degraded, but now I'm looking at this degradation of the size degradation of the British military. And what I'm actually looking at is, if you consider the whole of Europe now as an army, now listen, guys, all right, whether you agree with that or not, I personally don't, but if you consider the whole of Europe as a military force now to fight the Russians, what you're seeing is Britain have restructured themselves to be kind of like the special forces of Europe. And for those of you guys who know operations, your special forces guys will go in probably the night before the main invasion. Your special forces guys, you know, they go in behind enemy lines, they will destroy the headshed, and then the Green Army will move through, and then the Green Army will say, "Oh, that was strange. There was hardly any resistance. There was no command and control." And then you've got all the special forces guys on the back of the helicopter going, "Oh, that was a close one, lads." You know, and that's kind of how it works. So I feel that these cuts to the British military, they have been gearing Britain up to become the special forces of Europe, and that's the military wide. Let us just, because we're talking about Ukraine, let's go quickly to the share screen, guys. I'll just give you guys an update on the ground. So this was Ukraine as of the 3rd, so like just over a month ago. I'm going to skip forwards now, ladies and gentlemen. Each of these clicks is a day. When people are talking about ceasefires, it's absurd, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the amount of ground the Russians are taking every day. It's unbelievable. The Ukrainians the Ukrainians can't hold them back on their own. That's why boots on the ground is an inevitability. I believe this is happening already, but just in slow time, whereby rather than have the big announcement and all the tanks rolling down, you know, through Lviv and into Kiev, I think this is just happening slowly. Remember, your special forces team that we know operating on the ground from the German, somebody in German leaks this, you know, your special forces team of 4 turns into 12, 12 turns into a platoon turns into a company, then you've got battalion strength, then you've got attachments and detachments, and before you know it, you've got thousands and thousands of people, and then it's just, yeah, we're here now, we've been here a long time. That's how these things work. I do think at some point, though, there needs to be a major announcement about this. If we look what's happening in the Middle East as well, you can see now, just from Trump's comments saying he's going to take over, that we're going to take control of the Gaza Strip. I did a video on that, guys, so I'm not going to dwell on that. But listen, I want the jux of this video to be why Britain is going to take the lead in Europe against the Russians. And I'm not convinced, ladies and gentlemen, I am not convinced that the Europeans can hold back the Russians. Remember, all this time that we're flim-flammering, not doing anything, building equipment, building the most technological equipment with the best technicians, and you've got a guy welding something that I can do, but that guy, because he's in defense, he's been vetted, which costs money. He's got a degree in welding. He's got a degree in soldering. He's got a degree in aerospace. Like, because of he's that intelligent, he's getting $100,000 a year for doing little welding things. All this time, the Russians are just mass producing stuff, not just stuff that they can use, stuff that they're competent with, stuff that they can rely on. And like I said earlier on in the videos, ladies and gentlemen, okay, all you need to win these conflicts is grenades and small arms. And that ultimately is what these things boil down to. So when all the fancy drones and, long-range missile strikes that can, land in a teacup at 100 miles, and when all those computer chips have failed, when all that systems don't work, what's going to matter is which one of these sides can take more ground quickly. And that's all going to come down to who can produce more stuff for their guys more quickly. Anyway, guys, I'm going to Mac to Grid. I'll get you guys another video later.